Welcome to Okaloosa Today's show. I am Kathy Newby, Public Information Officer for Okaloosa County, and today my guest is the new Deputy County Administrator, Kay Godwin. Welcome, Kay.
Thank you.
Well, Kay actually is new in the job since March, but she actually has been with the county for 33 years. I can't even believe that.
33 years. I spent the first 33 years of my career in human resources, and I spent about the first half of that in technical roles. I started out at the payroll desk, and I did, very technical functions. I went to recruiting and classification and policy development, and then I spent the last half of my tenure in human resources at a management level. So I've had an opportunity to work in all aspects of human resources.
Well, that makes you an expert.
Oh, well, I don't know about that, but I'm very excited about the new opportunity that I have.
Well, that's definitely good background, and background is a good word. You've kind of been working in the background, and now here you are. You're going to be more in the foreground, and we're glad to have you. You're also a Florida native, an Okaloosa County native, which not many people can say that. You want to tell our audience a little bit about yourself, Kay?
Sure. Well, I grew up in Crestview. I attended a school system there in Crestview, and the population was relatively small, about 7,500, as I recall back when I was going through my school time. I have parents who are natives of Okaloosa County, and even some of my grandparents were natives of the county. I was active in the 4-H program and student government and Beta Club service organizations, a member of the Big Red Machine marching band there in Crestview, and I participated in a dual enrollment program there at the, we called it OWJC, the community college, now Northwest Florida State College. And from there, I guess I would say that my family enjoyed the outdoors, and my grandparents lived in Fort Walton, so we spent a lot of weekends on the beach. I remember the undeveloped stretches of beach with the large sand dunes, and my father enjoyed the wildlife up in the north end of the county, so we always had a place at the river. And I guess I'm telling my age here, but I actually can remember when I-10 was built and came through Crestview. Before that, we drove to Pensacola on Highway 90, paralleling the old Spanish Trail there. So after school, I married and moved to Baker, and my husband and I will celebrate our 35th wedding anniversary next year.
Congratulations.
I attended college as a full-time employee, working during the days and going to college at night there at Northwest Florida State College. I attended St. Leo College there on the Eglin and Hurlburt campuses in the evenings, and got my bachelor's degree in human resources. And from there, I went to Troy University and got a master's in public administration. So that provided me some new opportunities to advance my career with the county.
And it's nice to see, not only a native, but somebody who has benefited from the education here, and now is giving back and staying here and working and still a part of our community. So that's a great thing.
Yeah, and I am a firm believer in continuing education. I've been doing this for a long time, but I don't think you're ever too old to learn. And just about 2 years ago, I participated in a program through the Askew School of Government at the Florida State University, and it's a certified public manager program. It was a 2-year-long program, and it was very informative. I met some really great people that went to the class with me. I now have a certification through that as a certified public manager, and that just seemed to help round out my HR certification. So yes, I think we always need to be willing and able to learn new things. So.
Good. Well, and now back to work. The Deputy County Administrator was a position that we had, and then we lost during the economic downturn, and Donna Miller retired, and so things might have changed a little bit since then, but but basically we have brought that position back. And so why don't you tell our audience a little bit about what you do now and some of the changes ahead.
Okay, well, it's been interesting really setting up the office again, because it had been vacant for so long, and it has changed. Back when the county was going through significant downsizing, there was a reorganization, and so I had oversight of risk management, purchasing, veteran services, and recently through another reorganization, county extension, and soon to come corrections and court services. So I work in a liaison, I would consider it, capacity with those department directors and managers, and assist them with a variety of challenges that we face on a daily basis. A lot of what we do isn't always visible. I spend a lot of time, in research and strategic planning, and the budget process is a big major event, really, a several months long event that we handle through the county administrator's office. I've been playing a role in that. Today I was working on my agenda, the county commissioner's agenda, and all the items that have to be approved and sent through that process. So,
well, and really dividing those chores, some of those for lack of a better, responsibilities, I shouldn't say chores, that the county administrator has, he's able to hand some of those off and
yes,
let you take those.
That's right, and I'm also working with the Institute for Senior Professionals there at the college on a fraud and control risk assessment, which is really a management control review on a government side of the house. And that was one of the focuses that I was asked to spearhead, was to sort of coordinate the county's efforts in the fraud and control risk assessment program.
And a lot of the reason why we have gone through so many audits and had some of those issues was because we were a little bit too thin. I mean, I've heard that at county commission meetings. I've heard that from our county administrators that we've had in recent years, and we were just really got too thin. And so we do have, and plus we have a lot of department directors that are retiring. We just lost Dino Villani, and we have a new manager in our purchasing department because of a retirement. So we're also losing a lot of our experience, and so you work a lot with those new directors, and again that works well with the fraud assessment, I guess. And gosh, we can't say enough about ISP. I mean, the Institute of Senior Professionals, for those of you who don't know, are retired professionals who have a vast amount of experience and knowledge in certain areas, and they've done studies, they've done a lot of work for the county, and they do excellent work, and they're volunteers for the most part, correct?
Yes, that's right, and we were very pleased that they were able to consider our project and work with us on that, because really control and fraud risk is not a one-time event. That's an ongoing process, and so what we hope to be able to develop through their efforts is a tool that we can use to take this forward on every year that we are continuing that review.
Right. So I know that took a lot of time. I know that's taken a lot of time, but it's going to be well worth it. Let's see, so we talk, okay, policies and procedures. Why do we need policies and procedures, Kay?
Well, policies and procedures are important for a number of reasons, and I think first on my list is compliance. Many times our policies are written so that we as an organization stay compliant with federal and state laws, with county rules, and even the culture of your organization. And then there's the operational component of just that transfer of knowledge so that we can do things in a very logical and organized way. We have continuity, we have consistency in the way we do business. And then you look at it from the risk management perspective, and we want to make sure that we have the proper controls in place, the proper checks and balances built into our processes so that there isn't an opportunity for some fraud, for example, to occur. Not just fraud, but that's just one example. Or, for example, if we had a disaster, how do we recover from that disaster? So,
are we working efficiently?
Right. Continuous process improvement. I mean, I think you always have to look at that aspect of it too.
Right. And when you have, over 700 employees, you need those policies to rely on to sort of govern what all we can and can't do.
Right.
Just so that we know.
Right.
We have a book
Right, it's not about red tape from my
Right.
perspective, it's about consistency
Yeah.
and documenting that so that, one day when I get that opportunity to follow Dino and Donna into retirement, somebody can come in and have an organized map of how we continue this and move forward.
You mentioned, we've talked a little bit about purchasing and the risk management departments, and I think that also, and having you here brings out some of those departments that do a heck of a lot of work in the background and that people don't even realize that they're there. And you talked about risk management and what they do, but our purchasing department, who really lets a lot of the contracts out into the community and sends out our requests for proposals and all of that stuff where the I's have to be dotted and the T's have to be crossed, and that's a very, very important department as well, if you want to touch on that, Kay.
Certainly,
Better than me.
well, Zan and her team do an excellent job, and they've really worked hard to standardize their internal procedures, creating templates, better trackings and controls, and automation. We're looking at automation where it makes sense. We want to make sure that we're bidding out our contracts frequently so that we make sure we're getting the best value for the taxpayers' dollars, but at the same time we want to make sure that we're allowing businesses to bid on the services and goods that are needed by the county. The online auction's been a real big success. I think Zan may have been on the program earlier and talked about the success they've had with that. And then more recently too, the inventory control. The county literally has thousands of fixed assets, and those have to be inventoried on an annual basis. And so that's a process we're looking to streamline, and perhaps how can we automate and so forth.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about the budget. That's
Okay.
going to take up a lot of our time today, and that's certainly something that we are in the middle of right now. So tell us what you've been doing for that, and let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay. Well, I can tell you that the proposed budget does not include a tax increase, so that's good news for the residents. Makes it a real challenge for staff trying to balance the many valid needs. We went through such a difficult time in the downturn of the economy, and we had to downsize in so many different ways. And really, the process starts for staff in January, February. We start talking about what are your staffing needs for the upcoming year, and we talk about, forecasts, and we have department directors develop their own specific budgets unique to their operations. And I'm kind of going down a rabbit trail here, Kathy, but one thing is that the county has like 15 different businesses operating out there in many ways. You have an ambulance service, you have a water and sewer department, you have a road department, you have an airport, you have so many diverse businesses. So you have experts who run these departments who within their own departments make their budget requests, and then the county administrator has the great challenge of trying to find enough money to meet all of those needs. So we did a lot of work behind the scenes and had to cut $3.5 million out of the initial request. Yes, just to present a balanced budget to the commission. And these were not extravagant requests. These were very, bare bones needs, really. We're still at the needs level. We have had some legislative mandates that have been passed on, of course, in terms of DJJ. If you hear that word, that's where the county pays for incarceration of juveniles.
Department of Juvenile Justice.
Yes,
that's right.
And then you have Medicaid expenses, and just those two items together represented $750,000 in increases to the budget before we ever had any opportunity to decide how we could spend any additional revenue.
And like you say, we are trying to catch up from, from those lean years too, because at some point you have to start catching up on your people, on your equipment, all those types of things.
That's
so
exactly
that's kind of
right.
where we are. And I think, again, I like talking about these background departments because when I went to work for the county, having never worked for the government, that was something that really impacted me, is that you do have, it is like having several businesses, that just the sheer size of the county and everything that you're dealing with on a daily basis just was completely different for me. So it's good to bring that out and let folks know too, I think. Any other requests that we need to talk about for the budget? We've got supervisor of elections. We've got some capital projects. Let's touch on those real quick.
We do. We are looking at some major repairs. We were not able to fund all of the needs this year, certainly, but the courthouse roof, for example, the jail roof, the county jail was a biggie. They're looking to do some renovations at the courthouse, and we are also hoping to be able to expand the farmers market in Fort Walton. There's
We've got a presidential election year coming up, so we need to be prepared for that. And I think we have some slides that, let's talk about, because I think our residents need to understand the general fund, and the ad valorem, the actual ad valorem taxes only represent actually over $47,000, not quite $50,000, and then we have some other sales taxes and things like that that bring it up a little bit more, and how those dollars can be spent. Talk about that real quick, Kay, if you
Certainly. We have a chart that I hope the viewers are able to see, and it shows the actual budget of $331 million and how that is allocated among the different funds. And of that total budget, only 26% of that is in the general fund. And that funds your public safety, like corrections, that's the county jail and the sheriff's operation. Other officials share that small 26% of the overall budget. Then you have your special revenue funds. It's about 21% of the total budget for this year, and that's roads and tourism and restricted dollars that can only be spent for certain specific allowed purposes. And then you have debt service that makes up about 2% of the overall budget. Your capital outlay, which is your major construction projects, that's about 8% of the overall budget. The enterprise funds make up about 34% of the overall budget, and that would include your water and sewer utility, your airports.
They fund themselves. They have fees for services.
That's exactly right.
Okay, we are about out of time. That is a good general overview of the budget, and they can call our Citizens Information Line and get some more information, or email us. Anything else before we have to go today?
Well, Kathy, you can tell I'm very passionate about the work that I do for the county, and I'm excited about this new role. But I have been an advocate for the employees for so many years, and I'll continue to do that. But I would just ask our viewers to join me in saluting these men and women who do such great work of public service day in and day out. They're out in the heat, they're out in many different conditions, and they just do an excellent job, and we appreciate our employees.
That's right, we certainly do. We have some very knowledgeable and good experience still left in the county, and I want to thank everybody for joining us on the Okaloosa Today show. Thank our guests, thank you to Cox, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for watching Okaloosa Today. Join us again next month to learn about local news and information for Okaloosa County, Fort Walton Beach, and Destin.